And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show with head coach Steve Bordeaux. I'm John Hockaday, your host for tonight's show. The Yellow Jackets fell to 6-3 overall, 2-3 in the Sandhills 3A, 4A this past Friday night as Lee County lost at home to Scotland County by 40 to 30. Actually, on the road to Scotland County by a 40 to 32 score. Lee County will try to rebound this week as they take on Southern Lee in the annual Brick City Bowl. We do remind you that our coaches shows will air tonight, of course, live, and then again on Friday night at 7 o'clock or 6:30, just prior to our 7 o'clock live air time. And, of course, our kickoff will be at 7:30. Our coaches show will also post on our website and on our homepage tomorrow by noon, and you can enjoy the shows there as well. Our coaches shows are brought to you by a great group of sponsors, Jones Printing Company, Wilkinson Cadillac Chevrolet Buick GMC, Domino's, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, and Fix It Plumbing. We're going to take a short break. We're going to bring in head coach Steve Bordeaux, and we'll be back to talk Yellow Jacket football right after these messages.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we do welcome you back to WFJA Sports. Welcome to our Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. John Hockaday here with Steve Bordeaux, and Coach, tough loss this past Friday night on the road down in Scotland County. Yellow Jackets got behind early, fought back, played well, I thought, overall Friday night, but lost 40 to 32. Let's talk a little bit about the game. First off, your thoughts about last Friday night's game.
Yeah, I think hit it on the head. The second quarter really put us in a hole. Offense and defensively, we could have done a better job. Offensively, getting a couple more first downs, and we had some situations that could have kept the defense off the field. And defense, making the plays to prevent some big plays from happening heading into halftime.
The game was 7-6 early on. It ended that way at the end of the first quarter. Second quarter was a tough quarter to be a Jacket fan to sit there and watch, but 3 touchdowns by Scotland County. Let's talk about that quarter, and I know we've already discussed it a little bit, but there were some plays there where Lee County didn't produce on offense, and then they scored very quickly.
Yeah, it's actually they just scored a touchdown, so it's 14-6. We have the ball in their side of the field. We have a chance to convert a first down on a play, and we just barely miss a guy who I would say we're probably going to score a touchdown if we can catch that. We can convert the pass. Instead, it turns around. Scotland ends up getting the ball, and then they break off. It says 45-yard run very shortly after that. So in a quick turn of events from us getting the ball and probably going down the tie, instead we're down 2 touchdowns. And really kind of happened the same thing the next drive. We get down, we move the ball well again, get just outside the red zone, don't convert on a fourth down play, and then they end up having a big touchdown pass on a third down right before halftime, going into halftime.
And that score at the half was, of course, 27-6, or was it 26-6?
27.
27-6, yeah. 27-6 Scotland at the half. Lee County came out and scored early. I thought looked great on that opening drive. And Mark Schlesinger went over from 5 yards out.
Yeah, come right back after halftime. We, refocused at half, made sure everybody was seeing the things, using the technology we have, and making sure everybody was on the same page of things, and just reinforcing our basics and fundamentals. And the boys came out and responded well on offense, going right down the field.
Well, and of course, Lee County scored enough in the second half to win the ball game and to come back and win that. But Scotland was able to get a couple of scores on. And I don't think we can talk about this game really without mentioning what an effort by Jones, their running back, 304 yards, and he was elusive. He was quick. He was tough to catch.
Yeah, no doubt. Coach Bailey's run a counter play, power play for a long time. We knew going into the game that was the bread and butter play. Just like, we have a similar play we run on offense that if teams don't stop that, it's very tough to stop them, or very tough to stop us when we're running it. And they were able to run it effectively. The boys knew the play. We just got to do a better job of stopping it.
This team, Coach, as you know well, started off 6 wins. It's now been 3 really tough weeks. How are the kids doing? How are they at practice? What kind of attitudes do we have as we get ready for this final week?
Yeah, so even going through the whole second half of the game, the boys were fighting and scrapping. A couple of guys get banged up. Other guys come in with their names are being called. We're having to ask some guys to play more reps both ways than they've had to do in some games. So overall effort and energy is as good as ever with the boys trying and pushing and wanting to succeed. Today was probably one of the more competitive practices we've had in a really, really long time. A couple of the older boys, running around and putting some pressure on some other guys, and that's the kind of thing we need.
When you lose games, you don't normally look at your stat sheet and see 460 yards of offense. Let's talk a little bit about that offense and some of the individuals that I thought really had some nice games. B.J. Brown, unfortunately, didn't play but one play, I guess, in the second half. 95 yards, but several of these other guys I thought were really good offensively.
Yeah, definitely so. JoJo stepping up and carrying the ball, catching the ball once or twice as well. Playing a lot of defense. Mark having to run the ball some as well as throwing the ball around, and then Kendall having a really big game. Keeping the field spread and making some big plays out in space when he had a chance to touch the ball.
I think when the game started, Jaden Hill may have had 4 catches in like the first 7 or 8 minutes, and I think Keith made the comment, he's going to have 10 catches tonight. Right. Well, lo and behold, he ended up with 5, but Kendall Morris was magnificent. Yeah,
Kendall getting the ball out and around in space, and he was very, very tough to get down the field. When BJ was going down for the half, Kendall was kind of the guy that we needed to get the ball to have some explosive plays.
Let's take a look real quick, Coach. The schedule this past week, of course, Union Pines Southern Lee, that was 13-7. Union Pines winning that. Pinecrest 35-12 over Hoke County. I think Hoke County's now finished.
Yeah, they're done
with their season, and Pinecrest really is wrapped up. Number one seed. For the 4A schools, so congratulations to them. Scotland County, unfortunately, they wrapped up the number 1 seed for the 3A schools. Next week, what does it look like for Lee County? I don't want to get ahead of this week, but playoff-wise, look like we're on the road?
Yeah, I'm expecting it to be a road game. No telling where. It could be a 30-minute ride. It could be a 5-hour ride. We don't know yet, and really until next Saturday when they post the brackets, we'll just be guessing about where we would go.
Of course, games coming up this week. Lee County will be hosting Southern Lee. Pinecrest will square off with Union Pines, the Battle of Moore County. Of course, a big one down in Rockingham, Richmond County in Scotland. That's always a good one. I know you've been a part of that in the past.
Yeah, definitely. So it'll be, this I guess is a rivalry week. Last week of the season. Unfortunately for Hoke, we don't really have that rival game in our conference. So they get the bye, but Richmond, Scotland, and Pinecrest, Union Pines, us and Southern, it should be big crowds at every one of them.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about this coming up week with Southern Lee. I know it's the final week of the season, and which I can't believe how quickly this has gotten to this point. In fact, we're used to finishing in November. We're doing it really in October. But is this week everything the same? Is it because it's the final week? Do you do anything different?
Now, for us, varsity-wise, we try to keep things pretty similar. We depending on the team we're playing and as far as the scheme they run, we may have to adjust our practice a little bit. But we always try to do a little bit of things the last week of the year differently for JV and let them have a little more competitive situations in practice. And it's JV's last season or last week of the season for sure. Kind of see who those last couple guys that might get called up for varsity for the playoff run are, and put them in some situations to compete with some of the older boys to kind of see who we should keep around and who might not.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about those JVs. They've really. I've had a lot of fun coming to the games and watching them, and of course they won their first six games as well, and lost their last 3 all by 1 point, and they were great games.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good JV football on Thursday nights. The last 3 games, and our teams played really well throughout the whole year. Competitive team. We have six sophomores up on varsity, but even without that, we're still very competitive on JV, and 3 games losing by 1 point and in 3 different ways. I think we've already checked all those boxes off, so hopefully it comes out in our end this time.
Is there anything special coming up this Friday night for the final home games, final senior night?
So we did senior night, the first game of the year. This will very likely be our last home game unless we get blessed with some things happening in the playoffs and some seeds happening. So we'll enjoy the home field advantage at least one more time.
Well, it's it's been a fun year already, and I hope we've got quite a few more games to go. We know we've got at least one and possibly two for sure, but we hope it's about 7.
Yeah, that's right.
So.
I don't always want to play on the road, and we have to handle business this week before we worried about where we would go. But we have some really nice new jerseys the boys have been wearing on the white ones. So the last time we got new white jerseys, we had made a pretty good run. So hopefully that means something this year too.
Well, and you know what? This year, Jackets with a better record on the road than they've had at home.
True.
So maybe that will be a blessing in disguise. You are listening to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more right after these messages.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we do welcome you back to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. I'm John Hockaday alongside head coach Steve Bordeaux. And Coach, we were talking about some of the individual performers from this past Friday night. And at this time, we always give out some awards. We have our Norman Financial Group and Bubba's Subs and Pizza Players of the Game that Keith and I select each and every Friday night. And, of course, offensively, we've already alluded to the game that Kendall Morris had, the 10 catches, 153 yards, and that was a tired young man at the end of that game.
Yeah, definitely. So right there late in the game, he had 2 really, really big plays running all over the field, probably runs 200 yards to gain 50. But yeah, he did definitely his best game as a receiver for us, and was proud to see that and look forward to hopefully another big one this week.
Well, he's come to the Lee County team, and he's contributed so many ways. Defensive back, he has 3 interceptions on the season, returning kickoffs,
yep.
And he has offered a lot to this team.
Yeah, definitely. So Kendall has really, really, really worked hard this off season into this year, and it's buying into what we want him to do. And as the seasons went on, we saw more and more dividends from that. And he's a kid that wants to be competitive, and really in those situations, he's ready for his number to be called.
Well, you gotta have players to step up and make plays and make statements like he's done to advance in playoffs, and I hope he can continue to do what he's doing.
Definitely so.
All right, and of course we also had our defensive player of the game, Anthony Battle. I thought he stepped in and made some key stops. Actually made a catch on the offensive side for 15 yards
yep. maybe,
and. But I thought he played a nice game.
Yeah, Anthony's been really consistent all year, handling business at free safety, understands everything that we're trying to get him to do, and really what the other team is trying to give us on the other side. He's jumping in and taking some reps late in the game on offense when we needed some guys. Ants all over the field, doing stuff on special teams too.
And of course, you guys get to go back and break down the film and take a look at all the players, and then pick your player of the game, which is a gift certificate, and also goes on the trophy from Wilkinson that we've got here in front of us. And let's see who that is.
So this week we went with Kendall. Kendall playing reps on defense early, and then as the game went on, really being the guy that the ball was going to anytime we needed a big play, and really sometimes just about every play. As the game really went, and had a decent kickoff return at one point, and then they really started kicking away from us. So Kendall was a little bit all over the field.
Coach, I want to go and take a look at a little bit of our stats defensively. We talk about the offensive guys so much and the numbers that they put up, and but some of these names have really had good years. And when you look at the tackle leaders, there's really no surprise with JoJo Jennings sitting up at the top with 78 tackles. But when I was updating the stats today, I became more impressed with Isaiah McKendall, 55 tackles on the season. Let's talk about some of these guys and what a great job they've done.
Yeah, definitely. So Isaiah had his best game of the year this past week. Did a really, really good job what we're asking him to do. And some of the situations, he was making a tackle for loss. Other situations, he's turning everything back to his help. Sometimes the help didn't show up, but he was doing his job. Riley Cotton has been consistent all year, playing outside backer or strong safety for us, depending on the team we're playing against. But has really done a good job of setting the edge. And Jace has been a defensive lineman that has popped in, playing a couple different positions on the front. Just effort guy, going to get to the football. Really proud of those guys.
Well, and some of those other names, Braden Kirkland, Prince Lamison, these guys have really stepped in. Aiden Roney's been another guy that I think has been really solid this year.
Yeah, Aiden has is going to do his job and do it very well, being consistent. He's playing both sides of the ball. Been all conference as an offensive lineman, and the last 2 seasons, and really taking key reps on defense this year as well.
And another one I think we missed up here, Mr. Adesanya. What a nice year he's had.
Yeah, definitely. So Io's full of energy, and when he hits somebody, it's usually going to be a knockback tackle. I'm looking forward to seeing a whole bunch of tackles, hopefully, in the weeks to come from those guys.
Coach, when you look at the receiving numbers for the Yellow Jackets, I'm trying to remember back last year the most catches anybody had, but Kendall's really come on, and 34 catches now on the season, almost 500 yards total.
Yeah, I think one difference this year to maybe some other years were a little bit more balanced. Even Kendall with a few more receptions, but Jaden with 24, and Isaiah and BJ getting the ball multiple times. Logan Walker. So we're just having more guys with multiple receptions makes it a little bit more difficult for a defense to just key on any one guy.
If I'm not mistaken, Coach, B.J. Brown, only 2 catches going into the Pinecrest game, so the majority of those have come in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and that's really it's not by fault. As teams start to try to pack the box and stop him from running for 200 yards a game, they are going to give up some things out in pass coverage, and we were able to take advantage of that a few times.
Before we move on to Southern Lee and this coming Friday night, also want to mention Mark Schlesinger, whose numbers have really started to blossom over the past few weeks. What was it, 251 yards in the air this past week, 19 completions, but he's gotten better and better.
Yep, consistently getting a little bit better every week, making those throws, and a lot of times when he's making a throw, it's on the move from a play action or RPO type situation, so they're not always the easiest throw to make, as sometimes sometimes it's a lot easier to do sometimes the things we might ask them.
Well, Coach, this Friday night, Southern Lee will be coming to Paulgate Stadium, and they've got some players that you and I have talked about that can get out in space and can make plays. What do you look for from Southern Lee when they have the ball Friday night?
Yeah, definitely. I think number 8 and number 1 are both very dynamic athletes. Carrying the ball for a lot of yards, and it's over 6 yards a carry. So anytime those guys get the ball, everybody has to run to the ball and make sure no big plays happen, and that'll be a key when we're on defense.
And, of course, Robert Sims, their quarterback, 64 completions this year, just over 700 yards. What do you see as far as their passing game that you'll need to look out for?
Yeah, the passing game, it kind of right off of their running game. They've been very effective making some big plays. 18 for them. Young guy has been able to stretch the field a decent amount. They've really lived off big plays in the passing game. Everybody has to kind of be close to the ball because they run the ball so much, and they've run the ball in a variety of different ways. I think it kind of keeps people, it lets people fall asleep a little bit on the back end, and they've been able to dump it over their heads several times.
When Southern Lee is on defense, what do you look for as far as anything you need to avoid, or is this going to be just jacket offense, line them up and go?
Hopefully just jacket offense, line up and go. They've created a lot of turnovers throughout the year. That's one thing that's been noticeable. They have 11 interceptions, which is it's more than one a game, and some games they've had several. So that has been one thing we really picked up on watching film, and I think the biggest thing for us is just being effective and being efficient and taking the things that are being given to us, not trying to force anything, and just making the plays that are there. When we have a 5-yard reception or 5-yard throw, we got to hit that and keep moving the chains, and eventually we run out of chains and we score a touchdown.
Well, this Southern Lee will be there this Friday night. Of course, we'll re-air the coaches show at 6:30. come on the air live at 7, and of course kickoff scheduled at 7:30. And so far the weather looks great.
Yeah, as the weeks went on, it's looked even more and more fall-like for Friday night. It doesn't look like any kind of precipitation in the air. It looks like around 50 degrees. Can't ask for too much more in the last weekend of October.
Exactly.
It should be a great weather day for us, and hopefully we'll have a great turnout for the Brick City Bowl.
And I think everybody knows by now, but again, go to gofan.com. And Coach, so far, I've heard very few complaints about it. It's I think people like having their phone, just show it and walk in.
Well,
if they know it before they get there.
Yeah, I think now that everybody knows that's kind of the standard. I'm assuming probably forever, for always moving forward. It kind of just cleans things up, and you can save a little bit of time having to stand in that line and wait for change, and it helps everybody just keep the thing rolling. And it's not a bad thing once we get used to knowing it's going to happen.
Well, I think everybody is finally about used to it here in the third season
Yes,
of
sir.
it. So and it has worked pretty good. So, Coach, want to thank you for coming by and talking again tonight as we get ready for this week's game, and best of luck.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All righty, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back to close this out right after this.
WFJA would like to thank the following advertisers for bringing you the Lee County Coaches Show: Jones Printing Company, Domino's, WilkinsonCars.com, Sheriff Brian Estes, Farm Bureau of Tramway, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Fix It Plumbing, and Brick Capital Video.
And we do welcome you back to the Yellow Jacket Coaches Show. I'm John Hockaday. We do again want to thank head coach Steve Bordeaux for coming by and spending some time here with us tonight talking Yellow Jacket football. This show will air once again 6:30 on Friday night, and we hope you can tune in before the game. We'll come on live at 7 o'clock, and of course kick off at 7:30. Video of this show will be posted on the WFJA website and the WFJA Facebook page tomorrow. So take a look at it. If you know anybody that wants to look at it, missed it tonight, please share that with them. We do want to thank all the businesses that are bringing you these coaches shows each and every week: Jones Printing Company, Wilkinson, Cadillac, Chevrolet, Buick, GMC, Domino's, the Dairy Bar and Flame Restaurants, Farm Bureau of Tramway, Sheriff Brian Estes, and Fix It Plumbing. We thank all of you for listening to tonight's show. It's time for Yellow Jacket football.